What if the chaos you're living through right now isn't a breakdown, but a breakthrough? What if the strange dreams, the repeated numbers, the buzzing in your hands, the truths that slip out when you're not thinking, are all signs that something deeper is shifting beneath your reality? Because this week, the sun enters Gemini, and when it does, everything accelerates. Thoughts, time, transformation. You won't hear it coming. You won't see it with your eyes, but you'll feel it. In the glitches, in the echoes, in the moments when your mind goes quiet and something else begins to speak. This is not just astrology. This is a full system reboot. And you have a choice. Follow the signs, or be left behind. Stay with me through the end of this journey, because over the next few minutes, we're going to decode the patterns, confront the chaos, and uncover the reason why nothing in your life feels random anymore. If you feel this stirring in your spirit, if the timing of this message feels too perfect to ignore, hit the like button to lock in the frequency. Share this with someone else who's waking up, and subscribe, because this is just the beginning. Now breathe in, listen closely, and let's begin. Part 1. The silent switch has begun. No one told you it would begin like this. There were no flashing signs, no booming voices from the clouds. Just a shift. Quiet. Barely noticeable, unless you knew what to feel for. The air changed. The silence thickened. And somewhere deep in your chest, something clicked. The sun is entering Gemini. And whether or not you believe in astrology doesn't matter anymore. This isn't about star signs or cosmic forecasts. This is about how time bends, how consciousness realigns, how the unseen world tightens its grip on the visible one. And suddenly, reality begins to echo. You've felt it, haven't you? That strange pull when you wake up, not knowing why your heartbeat is faster than your dreams. That dizzy spell when you're standing still. The words you almost say, but catch yourself right at the edge of something that feels too real. This is not just energy. This is information. And Gemini is the sign that carries it like lightning through the nervous system of the universe. Most people won't notice. They'll chalk it up to stress, weather, mood swings. They'll sleepwalk through this threshold like it's just another week. But the ones who are tuned in, the ones who have always heard a little more than what's said, who have always seen something hidden in the normal, those people are being called right now, and not gently, because Gemini doesn't whisper, it splits, it duplicates, it mirrors. And as the sun moves into its field, the laws of communication begin to unravel. That's why you'll start hearing things twice, seeing patterns, watching the same number appear on receipts, clocks, license plates. You'll have conversations that feel scripted, moments that feel like memories from someone else's life, a line spoken by a stranger that hits you like a prophecy. And if you're not paying attention, it'll pass through you without a trace, just another glitch in the day. But if you stop, even for a second, you'll feel it. You'll know. Something is speaking. But it's not speaking in full sentences. It's speaking in symbols. It's not a voice. It's a pattern. And you're part of it. Gemini doesn't need your belief. It needs your bandwidth. The more open you are, the more it will deliver. And right now, the bandwidth is stretching. You've likely already felt the symptoms. A rush of thoughts that come too fast to write down. A sensation in your spine, your palms, your temples. You're not malfunctioning. You're tuning in. But tuning in comes with a cost. You may feel exhausted and electrified at the same time. You may feel detached from your body one moment and overwhelmed by it the next. That's because the message coming through isn't just mental, it's physical. Your body is carrying light it was never trained to hold, and it's learning in real time how to survive it. This is not chaos. This is recalibration. You might have expected the next phase of your life to come with clarity, peace, direction. But instead, it comes like this: a storm of signals, a tangle of impulses, a strange new rhythm in everything from how you speak to how you sleep. And yet, underneath it all, there's something undeniable. Movement. You are moving, even when you feel stuck, even when your circumstances haven't changed. The shift isn't external yet, it's internal. And once it finishes building inside, it will break out. So don't wait for it to make sense. That's not how this works. Gemini doesn't bring conclusions. It brings the invitation to follow a thread, not because you know where it leads, but because something in you is already moving there. If you've been asking for signs, you're standing in them. If you've been waiting for a voice, it already spoke. But it didn't speak in the way you expected. It spoke in the second dream, the half-forgotten idea, the snow that made you cry for no reason, the stranger who looked at you like they knew your name. This is the beginning, not with a shout, but with a shift. And from this point on, everything that repeats is a signal. Every pause in conversation is a portal. Every moment that feels out of place is not a mistake. It is the key. So when things start doubling, don't dismiss it. When you feel a thought before it forms, don't push it away. When silence starts to feel loud, listen. The switch has already been flipped, and the transmission has already begun. Part 2. Gemini's Echo. Why you keep seeing doubles. It starts small. A phrase spoken twice by two different people, almost word for word. A dream that repeats itself, only slightly different the second time. Two birds landing at the same time on the same wire. Two songs back to back, carrying the same message. At first, you brush it off. Coincidence, pattern recognition, the mind playing tricks. But then it keeps happening. You check your phone and receive two texts, one after the other, from people who don't even know each other, but they're saying the same thing. You look at the clock, and it's 11:11. Again. You walk into a conversation, and someone repeats a phrase you just read. And that feeling? The eerie familiarity, like you've stepped into a mirrored room. This is no accident. It's the Gemini echo. When the sun moves into Gemini, the veil between timelines thins, not enough to rip, but enough to ripple, enough to reflect. You begin to feel like you're living inside a parallel draft of your own life. The same story, with slightly different dialogue, slightly different cues, and the universe is speaking in doubles, because that's how Gemini works, through reflections, through contrast, through synchronicity. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, the cosmic messenger, but not all messages come in the mail. Some arrive in the form of mirrored events, people who show up twice, moments that repeat until you finally listen. It doesn't shout, it whispers, twice. And if you ignore it, the echo fades. But if you lean in, it deepens. Because here's the truth, no one tells you. When things start happening in twos, it's not just a glitch in the matrix. It's a sign that the matrix is responding. You are being mirrored back to yourself, your thoughts, your energy, your hidden questions. And the answers come in symbolic stereo. Not from one voice, but two. Not because you're supposed to be confused, but because you're supposed to choose. Gemini doesn't offer a single path. It offers options, forks in the road, that look identical until you get close. It says, here's version A, here's version B. Both are possible. Which one will you align with? And this is where it gets spiritual. Because when you see doubles, when you hear the echo, when two timelines are flickering in front of you, it's not the world being strange. It's your spirit being asked to commit. What are you really creating? What are you really focusing on? What version of you is going to take the lead? The echo isn't there to confuse you. It's there to reflect back the signals you're already sending. Some conscious, some not. That's why now, more than ever, your inner world matters. If you're focused on fear, you'll hear it twice. If you're locked in worry, the world will mirror it back to you in stereo. But if you shift, if you tune in to curiosity, possibility, even surrender, you'll start to notice a different kind of doubling. Not shadows, but signals. Not loops, but launches. Two doors open. One you've seen before, one you haven't. Two versions of the same day unfold, depending on which part of you shows up. Two voices rise within you. One tired, one wild. Both are yours, but only one leads you forward. This is the Gemini mirror, not to trap you, but to free you from autopilot. And here's the twist. Most people mistake the echo for noise. They get overwhelmed. They shut it down. They say this is too much, and the moment passes. But not you, because now you know what to listen for. You know that when the dream repeats, you write it down. When the same number shows up twice, you don't dismiss it. When a stranger repeats something from your journal, you don't flinch, you lean in. Because the second time is confirmation. The echo is your invitation to pay attention. And if you do, the entire field shifts. What was once confusing becomes coordinated. What felt like chaos begins to form a pattern. The signals line up, the path clears. But you have to move with it. Gemini doesn't wait. Gemini delivers once, then echoes, just to be sure. And if you miss both, it's gone. So watch the reflections, trace the patterns, and when you see it come around again, don't just notice it, choose it. Act on it, speak to it. Because this is not about predictions. This is about perception. And if you listen closely enough, the echo becomes a map. Part 3. The code is hidden in the glitch. Not everything that breaks is broken. Sometimes what feels like a mistake is actually the message. The delay, the slip of the tongue, the thing you forgot and remembered at the same time. The conversation that didn't go the way you planned, but left you changed anyway. These are not errors. They're entry points. And during Gemini season, the universe hides its clearest messages in what looks like a glitch. You might be driving, half listening to the radio, when a line from a song hits you so hard, it feels personal. You're mid-conversation, and suddenly you say something profound, out of nowhere. It surprises even you. You walk into a room and forget why. But instead of leaving, you pause. And that's when the insight lands. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, the trickster, the messenger. And the messages don't come gift-wrapped. They arrive in distortion, in repetition, in the part of the sentence that gets cut off, but still lingers, in the dream that ends abruptly, but leaves behind a feeling you can't shake. Because here's the secret. When your mind glitches, your spirit speaks. Your logical processes, your filters, your judgments, your planning. They don't get to control this. This is spiritual bandwidth, and it requires interruption. That's why in this season, you'll feel scattered. You'll forget what you were saying. You'll remember something random at the exact moment it becomes relevant. This is the Gemini current. High-speed data, disguised as distraction. You're not being derailed. You're being rerouted. And unless you're willing to see through the crack, you'll miss what's hidden behind it. The code doesn't come in plain language. It's not the words people say. It's the weight behind them. It's the pause before the confession. It's the typo that changes the whole meaning of a sentence. It's the awkward silence that feels strangely loud. Gemini speaks in patterns, but it also speaks in errors. because an error forces your mind to stop. And that moment of pause, that's where the download drops. Not the information you asked for, but the truth you needed. You might receive an idea so large, you can't even put it into words. A sentence will land in your head, fully formed, and you won't know where it came from. It will feel like memory and prophecy at the same time. That's not a guess. That's revelation. And yet, it's fleeting. That's the maddening beauty of this kind of communication. If you don't write it down, speak it out, or move with it in real time, it vanishes, like breath on a mirror. Because Gemini is air, it doesn't wait, it moves. This is why you've had moments lately where you felt like you almost caught something. An insight, a sentence, a connection. But it slipped through your fingers the moment you tried to hold it. Don't blame yourself. Just learn the rhythm. Gemini doesn't knock twice. So now, you're being asked to respond differently. Not to wait until things make sense, but to capture them as they arrive, raw, unfiltered, and electric. You'll be tempted to second-guess it, to overthink, to rationalize it away. But don't. The code doesn't come to your logic. It comes to your intuition, and the only way to unlock it is to trust it. So when the moment hits, when your heart skips, when the light changes, when the air feels charged, pause. Write it. Speak it. Even if it doesn't make sense yet. Even if it scares you. Because those fragments, they aren't just fragments. They're keys. Pieces of something much larger. Pieces of you. Waking up. And every time you listen, every time you choose to believe the glitch is the guide, you move closer to something you can't name yet, but can feel. A clarity that doesn't arrive in a straight line. A message that doesn't speak your language. A truth that doesn't wait for permission. So the next time you feel the interruption, stop. That might be the moment your entire life shifts. Part 4. Body Reboot. Why you're dizzy and buzzing. Your body knows before your mind does. Before you understand the shift, before you even have the words for it, your nervous system has already felt it. The buzzing in your fingertips, the sudden ringing in your ears, the dizziness that comes out of nowhere, then disappears before you can explain it. This isn't anxiety. This isn't dehydration. This isn't something wrong. It's something activating. Because when the sun enters Gemini, it doesn't just change thought, it changes signal. And the first system to register that signal is your own. You are made of current, electricity, firing neurons, magnetic pulses, electromagnetic fields. You've always been more frequency than flesh. But now, for the first time in a long time, you're being asked to run at full capacity. This is a spiritual reboot, and you can feel it. Your heart races for no reason. You wake up at strange hours, fully alert. You reach for words and feel like they're just out of range, hovering in the air. You forget why you walked into a room, but remember a dream from 10 years ago with frightening clarity. Your body is not failing you, it's recalibrating, and recalibration by nature is uncomfortable. When your phone updates, it freezes. When your computer upgrades, it restarts. So why do you expect your own system to evolve without glitches? You are processing light. You are carrying downloads, not metaphorically, energetically. And your old operating system wasn't designed for this much flow. This is why you've been more sensitive lately. To sounds, to smells, to the energy of a room. This is why some people feel unbearable to be around, and others feel like instant safety. Your aura is adjusting. Your cells are syncing to a new rhythm. And that rhythm is fast, not frantic, but alive, precise, demanding. The sun in Gemini pushes every part of you into motion, but not the kind of motion you're used to. This is internal motion. Micro shifts, upgrades you can't see, but absolutely feel. And if you're wondering why you're exhausted, even after a full night's sleep, it's because your soul is working overtime. At night, when your conscious mind shuts down, your spiritual systems go to work, repairing, reconnecting, downloading codes you don't understand yet, but will begin to act on, almost instinctively, in the days to come. Some of you have started craving things you never used to want. More salt, more water, more silence. Some of you have stopped tolerating noise, both external and internal. That's not random, that's intuitive. Your body is asking for what it needs to survive the surge, and the surge is real. When light intensifies, shadow surfaces. When signal increases, static rises too. That's why you've been feeling both more awake and more lost. It's not a contradiction, it's a collision. You are meeting parts of yourself that only emerge under pressure. You are activating gifts that only unlock in confusion. You are learning how to trust your vessel again. And Gemini, being an air sign ruled by Mercury, isn't here to comfort you. It's here to connect you to a faster truth, a higher clarity, a deeper intelligence. And the only way through is through your own biology. Your body is the antenna now, and the more you resist its signals, the more distorted the message becomes. So don't medicate the awakening. Don't numb the dizziness. Don't panic when your heart pounds at midnight. Sit with it. Ask it, what is this sensation trying to say? Because what feels like discomfort now is actually the evidence that it's working. The old version of you is not being destroyed. It's being rewired to carry the kind of light that doesn't just guide you, but others too. And yes, it's intense. Yes, it's strange. But no, you're not alone. Right now, there are thousands, maybe millions of others going through the same transformation. Silent, invisible, but real. And when they hear this, something inside them will say, yes, I feel it too. So, trust the process. Drink more water. Move when you feel frozen. Rest when you feel electric. Ground yourself, not to escape the current, but to carry it more gracefully. You are not glitching. You are awakening. And the buzzing in your hands, that's the energy trying to find a way through. Let it. Part 5. The chaos isn't random. It's a rewrite. Everything feels out of place. Plans unravel. Conversations spiral. What once made perfect sense now feels distant, hollow, or completely wrong. People you trusted become strangers. Habits that once grounded you now weigh you down. And no matter how much you try to hold things together, they keep slipping, slowly, chaotically, beyond your control. But here's the truth. This is not collapse, it's correction. Because when the sun enters Gemini, it doesn't just shift the sky, it rewrites the script. And to rewrite anything, you have to interrupt the sentence. What feels like chaos right now isn't punishment, it's precision. It's the hand of the universe reaching into the structure of your life and untangling the parts that no longer serve your next chapter. It feels messy because creation always does in its early stages. It feels loud because old energies don't leave quietly. You asked for clarity. You prayed for breakthrough. You said, I'm ready. But did you really think the old reality would just step aside peacefully? Number it resists. It clings. It cracks on the way out. And in those cracks, the new light seeps through. That's why you've been feeling two things at once: grief and hope, loss and excitement, fear and a strange rising sense of freedom. You're not losing control. You're losing illusion. The truth is, the life you built was never made to carry the version of you that's being born right now. The old systems, the old routines, the roles you played to keep things safe, They were all built on who you used to be. But now, something has shifted, and so the story must too. Gemini energy brings motion, and motion brings change. Not soft, gradual change, but sudden redirects. The wrong person leaves. The door you depended on slams shut. A conversation takes a hard left, and you're left staring at a version of reality you didn't ask for. But pause here. Look closer. What if the things falling apart right now are the very things keeping you small? What if the discomfort you're feeling is the pain of being reshaped into something more powerful, more precise, more true? Rewrites are violent to the ego. They tear pages from your personal mythology. They force you to let go of characters you thought were permanent. But what they give in return is priceless. A story that actually reflects who you are now. So if your days feel unpredictable, good. If your schedule is crumbling, perfect. If your emotions are erratic, if your sleep is broken, if your sense of direction has dissolved, you're right on time. Because this is the part where the script flips. Not gently, not with warning, but with purpose. What Gemini does better than any other sign is redirect momentum. And sometimes it does this by crashing what no longer fits, not to punish, but to realign. You're not being scattered. You're being rerouted. And if you can stop trying to organize the mess, you'll start to see the hidden order beneath it. The people walking away are making space for the right ones to arrive. The job that's slipping is nudging you toward your real calling. The silence you're sitting in isn't emptiness, it's incubation. Right now, you're not being asked to fix anything. You're being asked to feel what's real, to notice what no longer resonates, to stop pretending you're okay with what your soul already outgrew. And that takes courage. To admit you've changed, to let the old version of you fall away without needing to explain it to anyone, to embrace the chaos, not as a sign that something's gone wrong, but as a confirmation that something bigger is being born. The path you're walking wasn't meant to feel comfortable. It was meant to feel alive. And life doesn't arrive neatly packaged. It arrives wild, disruptive, liberating. So if things feel like they're breaking, let them. If plans are falling apart, release them. If conversations end before they're resolved, don't chase closure. Chase what calls your energy forward. Because this isn't just a rewrite of your schedule. This is a rewrite of your frequency, your identity, your mission, and the glitch, the chaos, the pause. That's the pen hitting the page. Part 6. You are two people. And that's the key. There's a version of you who smiles through the noise, who keeps things steady, who says the right thing at the right time, even when your insides are screaming. And then, there's the other one. The one who watches, who questions, who feels something isn't right, even when everything looks fine. The one who whispers truths you've trained yourself to ignore. Lately, both voices are speaking louder, and for the first time, they're not taking turns. They're overlapping. You say one thing, and immediately feel the opposite rise in your throat. You make a decision, and then watch another part of you quietly rebel. You're pulled in two directions, and neither feels wrong. How can that be? Because you are not just one person anymore. And the sooner you accept that, the more powerful you become. Gemini season doesn't ask you to pick a side. It invites you to hold both, without shame, without explanation. The twin archetype was never about contradiction. It was about completeness, the light and the shadow, the voice you project and the one you protect, the grounded part of you that follows through, and the wild part that wants to burn everything down. They're both real. They're both you, and they're both needed now. This is what the world never taught you. That duality is not dysfunction. It's dimension. You weren't made to fit in a single narrative. You weren't built for a clean storyline with one consistent tone. You are dynamic, multipolar, quantum. And as the sun moves deeper into Gemini, that truth refuses to stay buried. This is why you've been feeling disoriented. Not because you're breaking, because you're widening. You're expanding beyond the old labels, the old roles, the old simplicity of, this is who I am. Now, you're both, the spiritual and the skeptical, the nurturing and the ruthless, the certain and the searching. And here's the twist. You've always been both. You've just been taught to silence one voice, to make others comfortable. But now, the volume is rising, and muting either one is no longer an option. You're not meant to balance these two parts of yourself. You're meant to integrate them, to stop apologizing for shifting tone, to stop labeling every change as inconsistency, to recognize that the person you are in solitude is just as true as the one you are in a crowd, and maybe even truer. This is what Gemini season reveals, not just the echo around you, but the mirror within. You've spent years trying to shrink into something stable, predictable, but the truth is, your power has always lived in your complexity. And now, that complexity is coming online. You'll find yourself acting out of character, and yet it will feel more authentic than anything you've done before. You'll say things you didn't know you believed, until the words leave your mouth and feel like freedom. You'll contradict your past self and realize that doesn't make you wrong. It makes you alive. Gemini is not about performance. It's about permission to say, today I am this, and tomorrow I might not be. That's not instability. That's evolution. And evolution doesn't move in straight lines. It spirals. It loops back. It revisits. It questions itself. And still, it moves forward. So if you've been feeling torn, like two different versions of yourself are fighting for space inside your skin, stop trying to pick one. Instead, listen to what each one is trying to teach you. Because one holds your strength, and the other holds your softness. And the world you're stepping into will demand both. There will be moments ahead that call for your fire, and others that call for your stillness, sometimes in the same hour. And you will not be able to rely on an old identity to carry you. You will have to move between your inner voices like instruments in an orchestra, knowing when to let one lead and when to let the other rise. This isn't confusion. This is mastery. So let them both breathe. Let them both speak. Let them both belong. Because you are no longer here to be one thing. You are here to become everything you are meant to be, at once. Part 7. Truth doesn't knock. It slips out laughing. Some truths don't arrive with ceremony. They don't come dressed in sacred robes or ride on lightning bolts. They show up in passing, in fragments, in jokes that aren't really jokes. And when they land, they don't explode. They echo. Lately, you've felt it. A friend says something that seems casual, until your chest tightens. You find yourself blurting out a memory you've never told anyone, then laughing it off, like it meant nothing. But it did. It meant everything. This is what Gemini unlocks, not the truth you've written carefully, not the polished version of your story, but the truth that slips out sideways, when your guard is down, and your soul decides it's time. Because Gemini doesn't pull truth out of you like a confession. It tricks it out of you. It catches you mid-sentence, mid-laugh, mid-thought. And suddenly you've said something you didn't know you were carrying. And strangely, it doesn't feel terrifying. It feels like relief. This is what most people get wrong about revelation. They think it requires drama. They wait for the breakdown, the lightning strike, the holy moment of clarity. But in Gemini season, truth is a trickster. It's playful. It's clever. It sneaks past your ego, disguised as curiosity. And before you even realize it's happening, you've said the thing you never planned to say, the dream you've always kept private, the fear you've laughed about, but never really faced, the desire you buried beneath being realistic. And now, it's out, sitting in the air between you and someone else. And the world doesn't end. It just gets quieter, more real. That's the magic. The most important truths aren't shouted. They slip. They stumble. They stretch their legs when no one's looking. They don't demand attention. They change the atmosphere. You've likely heard this already. Someone saying something they didn't mean to share, then brushing it off, like it wasn't sacred. But you felt it. It hit something in you. It connected. And for a moment, without knowing how or why, you just knew something deeper was happening. That's Gemini. The sign of conversation, but not just small talk. The sign of twins, but not just duality. The sign that opens the door, not with a key, but with a wink. And once that door is open, it doesn't close the same way. This is why the truth you're avoiding might come out soon, but not in the way you expect, not through a journal entry or a long confession. It might come when you're joking with a friend, when you're talking to someone new and feel oddly safe, when you're rambling to yourself out loud and suddenly hear something that makes you stop. Because Gemini makes you speak before you've edited, before your logic kicks in, before the filters return. And that's where the purest truth lives, not in the planned speech, but in the spontaneous moment you finally let go. The irony? You've spent so long trying to hide certain parts of yourself, convinced they were too much, too strange, too sensitive. But the moment you accidentally reveal them, you feel more you than ever. And others feel it too. Because in a world of curated truths and rehearsed emotions, rawness becomes electric. Realness becomes magnetic. And people lean in. They don't remember your perfect answers. They remember the moment you paused, the way your voice cracked, the strange beauty of a truth set free without apology. So let it slip. Let it stumble out mid-sentence. Let the awkward truth live in the air a little longer. Don't rush to cover it up. Don't turn it into a joke, just to protect yourself. Let it be awkward. Let it be naked. Let it be seen. Because Gemini season doesn't bring truth with trumpets. It lets truth trip over its own shoelaces and land in your lap. And then looks you in the eye and says, well, now that it's here, what are you going to do with it? So when it happens, and it will happen, don't panic. Don't retreat. Don't try to package it. Just breathe and let it be what it is. Not a mistake, not a weakness, but a revelation in disguise. Part 8. The portal opens. May 20th, you enter or be left behind. It doesn't wait. That's the first thing you need to understand about what's coming. It doesn't knock twice. It doesn't pause to see if you're ready. It doesn't slow down so you can catch up. It arrives, it opens, and it moves. On May 20th, the portal opens. Not a metaphor, not a poetic phrase. A shift, real, energetic, irreversible. It's already been building. The echoes, the duality, the glitches, the buzzing in your body. All of it was prelude. All of it was preparation. And now, the window opens. Brief, precise, potent. A crack in the timeline. A choice point. You will feel it. Some will wake up that day and feel unusually alert. A sense of urgency with no clear direction. Others will be pulled toward people, places, or decisions that don't make logical sense, but feel charged, magnetic. A few will feel like they've stepped outside of time entirely. Like the clock is ticking, but not forward. That's the portal. Not some swirling blue light in the sky, but a shift in the rhythm of reality. A moment when the invisible current of the universe surges, and those who move with it find themselves somewhere they could never have reached by willpower alone. It's not just alignment, it's acceleration. The conversations that have been dragging suddenly click. The ideas that were stuck suddenly flood in. The people who were distant suddenly reappear, not as distractions, but as keys. You'll feel it in your chest, in your fingertips, in the stillness between thoughts. And when it hits, you'll have a choice. You can step into it, even if you don't understand it. You can say yes, even if you're not sure what you're agreeing to. You can move, even if you're afraid. Or you can hesitate. You can say, "Let me think about it." You can say, "I'm not ready." You can wait for certainty. And the door will close, not out of cruelty, out of rhythm. Because this window, it opens at the speed of Gemini, quick, curious, wild, alive. And if you're stuck in analysis, if you're clinging to the old logic, the old plan, the old fear, you won't feel the wind on your back. You'll feel friction, like the universe is pulling ahead without you. That ache you feel in your bones when everything's changing but you're standing still. That's what happens when the train starts moving and you haven't boarded. So don't wait. This isn't the time for perfection. This isn't the time for guarantees. This is the time for response. Say yes to the conversation that wasn't scheduled. Pick up the book that falls off the shelf. Follow the detour. Make the call. Answer the text. Trust the nudge. Because the portal doesn't always look like an open door. Sometimes it looks like a disruption. Sometimes it feels like discomfort. Sometimes it comes disguised as the exact thing you were avoiding. But underneath, it's a fast track into the version of you you've been secretly building in the shadows. The one who knows. The one who's ready. The one who doesn't need more time, just more trust. This is the moment when momentum finds you. Not because you chased it, but because you finally stopped resisting. You've already done the inner work. You've already felt the tremors, seen the signs, carried the codes. Now, you're being asked to act. Not dramatically, not impulsively, but with faith. The Gemini sun brings the winds of change, but they only lift those who are willing to move. So ask yourself honestly, what are you still waiting for? What old story are you still trying to edit instead of leaving behind? Because on May 20th, the story turns a page, with or without your pen. And the people who move with this moment, they don't just change direction, they change dimension. This isn't just a decision, it's a crossing. And on the other side is not just a new path, but a new self. You've heard the whisper, you've felt the echo, you've survived the glitch, you've carried the frequency. Now, step through.